control everyone in social services to stop an investigation into a very famous person abusing children. You only have to control those levels of social services that decide if an investigation is going to go ahead. You don't have to control every policeman to stop a police investigation into the same thing. You only have to control those levels of the police that decide if the investigation is going to go ahead or not. You also control the media, which shuts a lot of this stuff up or ridicules it, and all these other areas that stop the real deal coming out. So whatever comes out is a tiny, tiny fraction of the children being abused every day by some of the most famous people on earth. Aren't they, Father George Bush? Yes, they are. Constantly. This is how it works. And they want this to happen for this reason. There are an enormous number, millions in America, of mind-controlled people. The government mind control project, MK Ultra, actually some of it came to light back in the 70s to such an extent that the government had to settle out of court with some people to stop the thing going to court and the whole thing starting to come out. But what came out was once again a fraction of what actually happens. And there are offshoots of MK Ultra that are specific for certain tasks like assassinations and what have you, that are perpetrated by the very people I'm talking about here to advance their agenda. And it works like this. We have a mechanism in the mind which shuts out the memory of extreme trauma. This is what kicks in when we have a really bad road smash and we can't remember the immediate run up to the impact and what happened afterwards. And on that level it's a good thing, because what the mind does is it puts an amnesic barrier around the memory of extreme trauma. Therefore, good thing, we don't keep reliving the horror in our conscious mind. What they realized, and one of the key people involved in this in the modern world, because they've known about this for a long time, was Joseph Mengele, the angel of death in the concentration camps of Germany, who had an endless number of people on which to experiment, particularly children. And they perfected a form of mind control called trauma-based mind control, in which, to be most effective, you start with children before the age of 5 and 6. And what you do is you traumatize them in every way you can think of. You first of all establish what makes them most terrified, and then you make them experience it. You make them experience having animals sacrificed in front of them, children sacrificed in front of them. You have them abused sexually and violently, and what happens is, because the mind shuts out extreme trauma, amnesic barriers form like a honeycomb all around the mind. In the mind control industry, they call them alters. They give people a front alter, which is the personality that people around them think is them, the one that interacts with people in the daily world. What they do, however, and what they found, is that you can program these alters, these amnesic barriers, each of which are under the impression they are the whole mind, with certain programs and with certain tasks. And you push these programmed alters into the subconscious, and the front alter, which they give you, oh yes, that's old Billy, or that's old Mary, yes sir, I know her. But in the back are these programs, and all they need is whatever has been programmed in as the trigger word, the trigger phrase, the trigger color, the trigger sound. And when that trigger happens, the front alter swaps with the back alter, and that becomes in control of events. We've all heard about the Manchurian candidates and all that stuff. We're talking that massively advanced. And what they do with these people, and I've talked to so many of them who've begun to have these flashback memories and start to get their mind back. Talk to endless numbers of them around the world. And they all tell the same basic story, and they all tell of the same basic people over and over again who were involved with it. And what they do is they will program a alter with an assassination program to a target victim. And then when the programming is triggered, they will carry out that programming. They will go into a school in Dunblane and blow children away. They will blow someone away that the Illuminati want out of the way. And what they do with assassination programs a lot of the time is they program the front altar to be, as we say, not quite the full picnic. So that when the assassination program is activated and they blow someone away, people who knew them go, yeah, well, he was a bit strange. There was something about it. Yeah, he was a strange man. Oh, he's just a nutter then. End of flipping story. No road back to who's really behind it. And the other thing they do is that they activate back altars to become the front altar when children are abused mercilessly by people like Father George Bush and others. And then when the abuse is over, the altar that experienced it is pushed back in the mind, the front altar comes back, that child does not know what has happened to it, cannot remember. And it's only much later in life, and it's happening to more and more people, that the memory suddenly floods back as the amnesic barrier breaks down. And there are millions and millions. There's an organization in America called the Delta Force. Within the mind control community, they're known as the toy soldiers because their very training is designed to turn them into, yes sir, who shall I shoot sir? Boo, thank you sir, zombies. I'll just finish here on this bit, we'll have a break, but one of the greatest forms of programming is subliminal. I'll get this towards the end, which talks to the subconscious mind. And one of the greatest programmers of children, the common themes of children programmed in these elite mind control projects in America is Disneyland and Disney and the Disney Corporation. And how interesting that in that Freemasonic headquarters in Boston, I should find this from the International de Molay, Walt Disney, which has now been taken over by a bigger corporation. And guess how many of them there are around there? 12, of course there were. Would there be any other? The Disney Corporation is a major Illuminati operation targeting children. And as J. Edgar Hoover said, the infamous head of the FBI, and he should know, the individual is handicapped by coming face to face with a conspiracy so monstrous he cannot believe it exists, and that is its greatest form of defense. What's going on in the world compared with the movie we're told is going on, the chasm between them is so absolutely vast that even when it comes to light, people go, you're bloody mad, you are. Truth is, though, more and more people are making that jump. And this is just one reality which we've allowed to unfold. It does not have to happen. They're using our power to do it. We take it back, it's over. House of Cards, thank you, gone. It's just a choice. And we can build a reality represented by this, by changing our own attitudes and the way we imprison each other, and the way we let these guys get away with it without question. Or we can sit there watching Coronation Street and Wheel of Bloody Fortune and allow this to reach its intended goal, a global fascist state. Okay, I've gone on. It's just kind of funny. I've had the bloody hands-on healing. I've had the crystal therapy. I've had the acupuncture, and I've still got verbal sodding diarrhea. I can't shift it. But if we could take a quick break, because I've got so much to say and so much to pass on. Say if we could start back at 4:05, and I want to really go into 9/11, Iraq, and all this stuff, and the real deal of what's gone on. Thank you very much. every policeman to stop a police investigation into the same thing. You only have to control those levels of the police that decide if the investigation's going to go ahead or not. You also control the media, which shuts a lot of this stuff up or ridicules it. And all these other areas control everyone in social services to stop an investigation into a very famous person abusing children. You only have to control those levels of social services that decide if an investigation is going to go ahead. You don't have to control everything. This is how it works. And they want this to happen for this reason. There are an enormous number, millions in America, of mind-controlled people. The government mind control project, MK Ultra, actually some of it came to light back in the 70s to such an extent that the government had to settle out of court with some people to stop the thing going to court and the whole thing starting to come out. But what came out was once again a fraction of what actually happens. That stopped the real deal coming out. So whatever comes out is a tiny, tiny fraction of the children being abused every day by some of the most famous people on earth. Aren't they, Father George Bush? Yes, they are. Constantly.